Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKinnon, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Fiber Oats, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuka, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Leland, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by Brian's Logic. How you doing, Brian? Good to have you.
Hey Nathan, how are things? Thanks for having me to do this presentation. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent.
Is it just me and you here at the moment, or is there more?
Yeah, we're not live yet. Don't worry. There's no pressure. That's just okay. Me doing my intro for the once it gets released to the members. You just joined it in an opportune moment. You normally don't get to hear that. I'd normally have the line on mute, but that you did today.
Yeah, because I was wondering. I had just joined. The Sunday you started. I went, oh no, I have things I still not finished down. He's starting already. But no, I'm basically ready to go. I just have to do one or two small things. So I'll be on mute for the next couple of minutes, and I'll come back in.
No worries.
Okay, back presently. Okay, yeah, okay. But yeah, I share that link. Can I share that in Master B in that?
If you, it's up to you. As I put in my message, you can put it to whoever you want. It's at your discretion. So far, I've only put the link in where have I put it? FED back office.
I put it into just the usual place, then the War Realm and Master B and Ballbusters.
Wow, that's more places than I typically put it. Okay.
Yeah, I just get as many people want to come in and join it. Just the more people here, the better the audience, and the more people we share.
So. No, fair enough. It's like a usual show. Then it'll probably have a more diverse panel. What I have done, Brian, which I should tell you also, is I have I've not specifically suggested people join Discord, and their line will be closed, but my presence is there for people who happen to be in that Discord server who may want to listen via Discord as opposed to the live show. So the reason I'm telling you that is to hear our conversation now as it's being recorded, just so you know.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, John.
Hey, what's going on?
It's been such a while. I can't actually remember your involvement in the CE. What's the abbreviation?
CEA.
CEA argument. Yeah.
I don't think I actually have a position after it's measured from a flat plane. It's modeled in a flat plane and use a straight radius to get the circle of equal altitude. I don't have an argument. That's that.
Yeah, you've given the game away. I use the abbreviation simply because when this comes out, although when this comes out, it'll have already been broadcast live, so it makes no odds really. My question more specifically was, were you involved with what Brian has put together with Rob and others and the back and forth, or were you just like me on the sidelines looking in, going, "Wow, this looks interesting"?
Brian ran it by me once after one of QE's shows. I don't think there might have been after one of your shows.
I mean, by the Arwin standard, that technically means you came up with the whole idea, doesn't it?
Of course it does, yes.
Hello, Neil.
I'll be quiet.
No one said anything.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything, did they?
No. But I know Brian. I will never break his train of thought.
No,
so disappointed.
No. It's when I just sorry, John. 1 second. When I'm doing the presentation, there'll be like when I'm doing the presentation, there'll be times to talk, but you'll know when I'm doing it that that's not a time to talk. But if anyone wants to ask a question, then that's fine. Like, I mean, if someone wants to stop and ask me a question about it, I'd rather you ask, because there could be other people in the audience or watching it later who would have the same question, but if I don't allow them, then that person might never know what the hell I was talking about. So if you go, what do you mean by this, Brian? Or what does that mean? Or you said this, what does that mean? I don't mind whatever length of time, but as long as Nathan's okay, I have to do it, even if it takes an hour to lay out the presentation. I don't mind as long as it gets across. So if you have a question or anything like that, just say it to everyone. That's anyone here, including you, Nathan, because you're very good at obviously including you, because you're very good at pointing out things that people you wouldn't be confused by, but the audience will be confused by it. So, as I say, the Discord server are there, so I mean you can invite a more open-ended opinion or feedback at any point, and then the people who are there. Hello, Discord.
Hey, good evening, guys.
You can just ask them.
Hello.
Speaking of pointing things out, Nathan, today I listened to your show. I got up late, but y'all talked about P waves and S waves and then just dismissed them as they weren't proof for a globe because their predictions weren't right. That was hurtful.
What? I did kind of. Now I know your tone. You don't get that tone in a chat. In a social media environment, you don't get the tone of what somebody's trying to say. So I read that and went, "What the hell is he talking about?" And now I know what you were talking about. Okay.
I was like, why would you pass up that great flat Earth proof every time P waves and S waves are mentioned?
Because the predictions don't work either way. So trying to claim it as a flat Earth proof's weak. That's why.
No, you're not. You're not claiming the predictions. You're claiming the return signal.
I know where you're driving at. You're going to need a flat Earth for that. I know. I get it, but it's still weak because the return signals yielded an incorrect answer. So if we can throw that at the globe earthers, when you say no, you're going to need a flat Earth elevation, and not a flat Earth elevation angle, a flat Earth to get the return signal, you're going to reference it to a flat plane. Well, then they'll just say, well, no, they weren't even that good predictions anyway, like we would.
They were predictions of what they would find in a globe Earth, right?
You're about to tell me otherwise, I suspect.
Well, no, that's what they were predictions of, right? That's what they said they would find in a globe Earth based on these measurements. But they weren't measuring a globe Earth. So the predictions are flawed from the beginning. So you can't base it on that.
Okay.
Well, the interpretation of the data and then their geometric delusion combined to give them false predictions. But it doesn't matter. They measured a return signal and they needed a flat plane to do it.
Yeah, but the predictions are wrong anyway. The outcome of the predictions. But you're saying that the necessary requirements to even make the predictions, regardless of right or wrong. Yeah, okay, I'm warming to it.
But no, not the predictions. The predictions are based on a globe. But they needed a flat plane to make the measurements, not the predictions.
Gotcha. I think the penny's finally dropped just before I start this live show. Welcome. Flat Earth Debate Special Edition Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now we are joined by Brian's Logic, Neil, Refracted Curvature, and a few people in Discord who may or may not take part in this particular special edition show. And this particular special edition show has been in the making for several months, if not years, based on an argument that has been refined specifically by a few key members, including Rob, who may or may not join us today. He has been shared the link, and I was hoping he'd be here, but he may not. And our presenter for the day, which is Brian's Logic. So I'm going to introduce Brian first and foremost, because he's going to be taking the reins when it comes to the actual presentation that we do today. Say we, I mean he. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, everyone. Thanks for hosting this presentation for me. I really appreciate it.
Well, I was encouraging it, so it needed a bit of spin polish and a bit of refinement, and now it's there. I'm glad that I'm the one to actually present it.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know how long it will be, I don't know if it would cover a whole episode of Ballbusters, because I don't know if it would be a long enough presentation for that. But yet, I don't know. It depends on how many questions people might have and whatever. Yeah, it's basically a very, very simple argument. I'm not going to say what it is right now, but it's a very, very simple argument. But it's absolutely devastating to heliocentrism. That's
Okay,
the only way we could describe it to the audience.
Just so we don't bury the headline, though. So this argument is the circle of equal elevation argument. That's the name, or CE. What is it again? Forget the abbreviation.
CEA.
CEA.
CEA. Circle of
The
equal
CEA
attitude.
argument. Right. So that's what you were going to be covering today. So although Brian obviously wants to keep the presentation's core till a bit later, I don't want to bury the headline. I want people to be appreciative of what we're actually discussing here. So I don't know if you want to lead into explain exactly what a circle of equal elevation actually is.
Yeah, a circle of equal elevation is derived from, let's just say you take an angle to a celestial body from a ship. Once you do your height of height correction, you then have a horizontal line between you and the GP point, the geographical position of that star. And that then, whatever length that is, let's say that you have exactly a 45-degree angle. That then becomes a 2,700 nautical mile straight line. And that straight line distance then becomes the radius for a circle of equal altitude. So the diameter of that circle would be 5,400 nautical miles. So, and it would be, and the circumference would be, I have to, my brain is not working now. But anyway, it would be around maybe the circumference, around 10,000 or something, or 11,000 nautical miles in circumference. But the point is that a circle of equal altitude is exactly as it says. It's a two-dimensional circle, two-dimensional flat horizontal plane. That's what it is. That's how it's measured. That's what you're measuring. So you're measuring in nautical miles an area that covers an area of in thousands of miles that covers an area that covers thousands of miles in a circle that's going to intersect with two other circles. So you do this sometimes they just do two. It depends if they don't need a third one. But maybe 50% of the time they'll do three circles of equal altitude. And these three circles, where they intersect, will be where the location of the navigator of the ship. So if you're lost at sea, this is exactly how you find your location using a marine sextant and the nautical almanac. So where these three circles intersect will be your position.
So we're talking about the three circles that you draw on your map when you're finding your position to try and get two, or if two isn't sufficient, three circles to overlap to elucidate your position. And we're talking specifically, the reason I keep forgetting the abbreviation is because it's either circle of equal elevation or circle of equal altitude. Now, equal altitude, equal elevation. Hopefully it gives the game away already where we're going with this. But go ahead, Brian, sorry.
Well, a more correct name for it would be circle of equal angle. Because anywhere on that circle will be exactly the same angle to that celestial body as was taken at the exact time that the navigator took the angle. So circle of equal angle. And I'll explain why that's going to come into the presentation, why that is so important.
Okay, so again, if you're a bit slow on the uptake in regards to this, all of these angles are going to be taken as depicted on screen now. The Dingleberry Earth is not required, but you're going to be needing a flat baseline to measure these angles. And right on cue, we've got this description, or this depiction, I should say, on screen now, which is precisely what we will be detailing henceforth, which is these three circles, and Brian saying these would be circles of equal angles, but typically described as a circle of equal elevation or a circle of equal altitude, and that would be these circles on screen now, crossing at a point that identifies your location. Okay, so hopefully we're all on the same page now, both in the panel about what we'll be talking about, if you're unfamiliar in Discord, or the audience yourselves. Please share the show. Right, Brian, I'm in your hands now. The summary has been done.
Okay, I just have to do one thing very quickly. What I will say is what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to share a window and then unshare and reshare another window. That's the way I'll have to do it, because I don't want to have to share my whole screen, if that's okay. But it's okay. It'll only be a second out and in situation. But it won't be anything that, just in case anyone notices it. It won't be any big deal. I just don't want to share my whole screen, as your screen can be share your whole screen. It can be dangerous. People can copy it and use it for nefarious things.
It used to be the case. It's pretty much not the case, but I'll do some talking while you're doing some sharing. We've also, as
it will only be like when I'm like, you won't have to fill in anything. It will literally, I'll share now. I'll share now. It will literally be just a moment of the screen I am sharing going away, and the next one coming in. So I'm sharing now.
Okay, so if you are in the G Plus panel, if you can just pop yourselves on mute, the time will be obvious when Brian's making his presentation. He'll lead the way in terms of inviting opinions from Discord or from yourselves in G Plus. If you're watching and you happen to join us in the G Plus panel, if you're a regular FED member, same applies. Please stay on mute while Brian's talking. We may invite your questions and answers afterwards. Okay, Brian, you've got the helm. Do you want me to stick this on nice and big?
For any of the diagrams, individual diagrams, make them as big as you can. Yeah, but as long as it's coming through clearly to the audience.
It is right. Mic's all yours. Okay. Diagrams up. We're ready to go.
Okay. Thank you, Nathan. Okay, this is actually the most important part to take on board here, because what I'm really we won't be begging the question, but we'll have to lend a certain, what's the best way to put it? We'll have to lend a certain, I suppose we won't have to lend this anything much to the globe, but I just get started and be done with it. This here, why this is so important, right? It'll become self-explanatory. Is this is what you do. This is what mathematically what they do. So this blue line here, this is a tangent plane, right? This is just reality to us. But if you are a believer in the globe and the heliocentric model, this is a tangent plane. You take our angle to a celestial body. There it is there. And down below that celestial body will be the GP point, right? Of the celestial body. Let's zoom in there. So there's your GP point, right? So, here is the celestial body. Here is the GP point, right? So what they do then is they take that, let's say here is 27-degree angle, right? And the distance is 3,000 plus here from the observer to the GP, right? They take that angle once they've done all the corrections, height of void correction, everything. They then bring it down to the center of a sphere, and that same 27-degree angle that was up here it ends up down at the center of the sphere, hijacking the celestial sphere model. But what it does then is it gives them a curved distance, right? So this is the new GP here, right? If you do that, so this was the GP here across that horizontal plane, and this down here is the new GP. And the sun or star or whatever that you were looking at, that also has to come down. Now, in celestial navigation, with the stars, as we know, you can view the same star from an airplane 6 miles above the zenith of a boat, and you will get the exact same angle to that same star. It's a bizarre thing, but it's actually debunks the globe, because you can deal with it at the equator with Polaris or any other star. And if you're 6 miles above the equator in a plane, your angle to Polaris will be 0, the same way as the mariner in the boat at the equator will also get a 0 to Polaris. So that means there's not Earth curve blocking the mariner, right? That it's very self-explanatory. It completely destroys the heliocentric model. But by moving, the real point with this, to do with this presentation that's important, is when they move the angle down, what they end up having is a curved distance. Now, why I'm focusing on this before I go into the main argument here is that this means there can never be any circle of equal altitude on the globe, because there is no two problems. Number one, this means that the horizontal distance here that would create your two-dimensional circle, right, of area on the horizontal baseline of the Earth, that is now, when we move into globe geometry, that is now a curved line. So curved radii do not exist. You can't have a curved radius because it makes no logical sense, because your circle will never match the area that resides within its perimeter. So you can't have a curved radius, because a circle is a two-dimensional thing. So whether it's a circle or a sphere, the radius can never be curved. You can't have a curved radius. You can't have a curved diameter. It has to be a straight line. That's to say you can have a curved radius, because we have people in our opposition saying this, is as ridiculous as saying as you can have a straight circle. It's the exact same thing. Can you have a straight circle? No, you cannot. So you also can't have a curved radius. So this alone destroys the use of a circle of equal altitude, because they can't have a circle of equal altitude because of this. You can't have even one. So this is let's say this is the initial first angle that a mariner has taken, or a pilot or whatever, and this is their angle, and they get 27 degrees off a horizontal. Once that is curved, once that horizontal is then curved, that means that you can't go any further from there. That's the end of it. If you want to start working after that point with a circle or a sphere, or with a sphere Earth, you can't go any further, because then from this point you can't get a circle of equal altitude, because you can't create a circle that's going to match the radius, because your radius is a curved line. So the distance along what you're calling a radius at that point will never match the circle that it will make on the surface of a sphere. And right, obviously enough, this is a curved line, right? So the circle of equal altitude can also be called the circle of equal angle, because from any point on that circle, the angle to the celestial body will be exactly the same. So any point on the circle is made by this 27-degree angle. Every point on that circle will be an exact 27 degrees to this celestial body. Now, that is impossible if you're trying to use a curved surface, because you can't get an elevation angle using a curved surface. You can't get it from the curved surface. That curved surface cannot be your adjacent. So it can't be done. So not only can you not have a curved radius, but you also can't get an angle. You can't create an angle and have a curved adjacent, right? So the reason I'm focusing on this so much at the start here is that just to show that alone ends the globe. Just this one part alone ends the globe. And this is not even the argument. But this one part alone ends the globe totally and utterly. So just want to say, if anyone, as I'm speaking, if anyone has any questions, just ask. Because there might be other people in the audience who might have questions. and they might have the same question, and if someone asks, then it will get answered for them, or someone listening later. So rather, if I don't know if there will be many questions, but if there is any, just ask, and I will answer it on the spot. Because I'd rather people got their questions answered as opposed to not knowing what I'm talking about and just going nodding their head and going, I don't know what that was all about. But anyway, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unshare that, and we stop presenting that and represent a different screen. Okay. Yeah. Now, circles of equal altitude presentation. How I'm going to do it is I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to have to get a sip of water as I'm speaking. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to have to do a bit of speaking, and then I'm going to show the physical, or not sorry, the physical, but the diagrams, right? That will, for the people who like visual learning, as I think everyone likes visual learning, that will show exactly what I'm talking about. So, circles of equal altitude presentation. So, the full official surface area possible on the globe Earth is 197 million statute miles squared, or 171,188,319 nautical miles squared. Whereas just two circles of equal altitude at full maximum size can cover a surface area of 210,822,794 statute miles squared, or 183,200,000 nautical miles squared. So if we compare the globe Earth's full surface area with the full surface area of two circles of equal altitude at maximum size, we get a globe's statute miles squared is 197 million miles squared. Two circles of equal altitude is 210,822,794 statute miles squared. If we subtract one from the other, there is a 13,822,794 differential. So that means that between the globe Earth's full surface area, the official surface area is 197 million statute miles squared. So when we subtract that from the amount of statute miles squared that is covered by just two circles of equal altitude at maximum size, which is 210,822,794 statute miles squared, there is a deficit of 13,822,794 statute miles squared. Or if we make that into nautical miles, it's 12,011,681 nautical miles squared. So these are the figures that show that just two circles of equal altitude at maximum size, which are used, and I'll give the conditions now for when they're used, is that if you're out at sea, and for those who have been at sea, I have been, when you are covered all around by cloud, sometimes the only thing you can see, the only time you can see anything, whether it be the sun or whatever, is at the horizon, right? So in the nighttime, if you're covered by cloud and you need to use a star, the only place you might be able to see them stars is at your horizons. So that's when you would use circles of equal altitude at full maximum size. Because there's going to be people out there who's going to say, but they don't do that. They do that. That's why they have celestial refraction corrections from 20 degrees down to 0. That's why they have those corrections in there, because they do use them, because they have to. So they need to be able to use circles of equal altitude that can have a radius of 5,400 nautical miles, 6,214 statute miles. They need to be able to do that. So not only can they do it, and do they do it, but I'm feeding back on someone there. Not only can they do it and do they do it, but you could never use celestial navigation from a plane, from the land, or from the sea if you didn't have the surface area that was required for your circles, because you don't know where you are, and that's the whole point of doing the circles of equal altitude. You don't know where you are. You're trying to find your location with those circles. That's the whole point of it. So you don't know, like, you can't say, well, the circle won't be able to stretch this way or that way. we don't make any claims about what the size of the Earth. The claims are made from the globe side, and that's why they are stuck with a square mile surface area of 197 million, but a statute of miles, right? But just 2 circles of equal altitude cover 13,822,794 statute miles squared more. So the globe basically runs out of runway. They don't have the real estate to match just 2 circles of equal altitude at maximum size. So the globe cannot exist, because we know that celestial navigation exists, and we know that they use circles of equal altitude at maximum size. And the reason they have the maximum size is because their sighting goes from 90 degrees at your zenith to 0 at the horizon. So they have to have that maximum size. So this argument completely ends heliocentrism. The globe model cannot exist. It doesn't have enough surface area for celestial navigation.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat. I'm going to repeat
Yep.
the most important statement on screen now. There is a deficit between the globe model and 2 circles of equal altitude full surface area. Then you've got the maths laid down on the screen in front of you now, so you can see exactly what Brian's already done in terms of the mathematics if you want to nitpick over his maths. However, if we subtract the nautical mile difference between the globe and just 2 circles of equal elevation, there's the deficit. So there is a deficit between the globe model and just 2 circles of equal elevation when taken at full surface area. That's the main point that is being made in this show. I just want to repeat it. It's up to you, Brian, but it might be a point to open up at least to the guys in G+. See what they've got to say. It's up to you.
What I'll do is I'll actually go through the whole presentation and
Okay.
leave people say something then. It's probably the easiest, because there's more to come. And it's cool. We're moving along pretty fast, so this might be probably the best way to do it. Right, so we move on down. So this alone, as we just stated, Nathan, there's over 13 million statute miles, right, of a deficit between the 2 circles of equal altitude at maximum size and the globe model, or over 12 million nautical miles squared between the full surface area of the globe model and just 2 circles of equal altitude at maximum size. It cannot exist. It's an impossibility for the globe model and heliocentrism to exist if celestial navigation exists. And it does. So if celestial navigation exists, P, then Q, the globe model can't exist. P, celestial navigation does exist, so Q, the globe model can't exist. That's about the size of it. But so far we have only compared the full surface area of just 2 circles of equal altitude at maximum size with the full official surface area of the globe Earth. But if we look at a comparison between the full official surface area of the globe Earth model and we compare this to the full total surface area possible with 3 circles of equal altitude, including the overlap of the third circle taken into account. I'll show that in a minute, but that basically on the third circle, you can make 2 circles of equal altitude where they will butt up against each other and they won't overlap, but the third circle will always overlap. So if we're taking that into account. So including the overlap of the third circle taken into account, we get the globe's full statute miles squared area equals 197 million square miles statute. 3 circles of equal altitude, full size statute miles squared is 277,956,602 statute miles squared. In nautical miles, the globe's full surface area covers 171,188,319 nautical miles squared, whereas 3 circles of equal altitude, including and with the overlap accounted for, will cover an area of 241,537,684 nautical miles squared. So 277,956,602 minus 197 million equals 80,956,602 statute miles squared. 3 circles of equal latitude and maximum size with overlap included is 80,956,602 statute miles squared bigger than the total surface area of the globe Earth, or 241,537,684 minus 171,188,319 equals 70,349,365 nautical miles squared. 3 circles of equal latitude at maximum size with overlap included is 70 million, that's 70,349,365 nautical miles squared bigger than the total surface area of the globe Earth. So, ending the heliocentric model for good. There is no way back out of it. The globe is too small. That's about the size of it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unshare this and reshare another screen. So I'm start presenting here. We share here now. And I'll show some diagrams. Okay. So, now I've erred on the side of caution as much as possible. So I'm going to explain these diagrams. So these top 2 ones, the red and blue ones, that is just 2 circles of equal latitude, okay, at maximum size, right? And down here, this is the these kind of lilac and burgundy ones. That is the maximum surface area of the globe broken into 2 and placed into 2 circles. So just 2 circles of equal latitude here. I have a box going around them. I have a bit of a thing up here I'm trying to get rid of. I have this red box going around them. As you can see, there is deficits at the sides here. This is all the area that the globe surface area can't cover, right? So this here, I have the box touching the sides of these 2 circles, and I have the radius of this one here in an exact line with the radius of this one. So this is showing the deficits that's at each side, right? That is all the area that these 2 circles that are representing the globe's 197 million square miles covering. That's what these 2 are representing. These
I don't understand. You're going to have to go through that again. Stop.
Latitude.
Sorry, Brian. Please go through that again.
Okay. Yeah, I have these 2 circles at the top. They are representing, right, 2 circles of equal latitude on a flat plane, on a horizontal plane, right, as measured, right, 2-dimensional. These 2 circles down here, what these are is these represent the full surface area that if we flattened out the globe and made 2 circles out of the total surface area of the globe Earth, these are the 2 circles that represent that. So 2 normal circles of equal latitude at maximum size here up top are bigger than the full surface area of the globe, which is down here, flattened out. So if you imagine we made this is as big, this is the maximum size if we use the full surface area of the globe Earth, and we wanted to make 2 circles of equal latitude out of them on a flat plane, this is the maximum size they could be, and are way smaller than these 2 up here. And these 2 are the size we use in reality. So these are too small for reality. Even if the globe was a flat plane, even if it flattened out all that area, it still wouldn't work because there isn't enough surface area. So
okay, I'm with you now.
Move on.
Yes, now I follow now. It just wasn't quite clear at first.
Yeah, I didn't add in the caveat, 1 or 2 caveats. I'm sorry. So this is the next one, right? So this is 3 circles of equal altitude, right, with 1 overlapping here, right? This is what size it is in reality with an overlapping. Well, obviously this yellow one would be overlapping here. This is the full surface area of the globe Earth made into 3 circles of equal latitude. If you flattened out the surface area of the globe Earth, 197 million statute miles squared, if you flatten that out, this is the amount of surface area. If we made 3 circles of equal latitude out of them, this is the amount of surface area that it could cover. So this up here is reality, whereas this is the best the globe could offer, even if it was flattened out like a pancake. That's the best it could offer, these down here. This is way bigger than this. But this up here is reality, right? Just to make it even more bizarre, here we have the same two again, right? But this down here, this just so people can get some kind of a visual picture of it. These here are the equator size of the globe. So if you made just, right, this wouldn't cover all the globe's surface area, but if you made 3 circles of equal latitude at the using the equator of the globe, this is the size that it would be in comparison to what we use in reality. And this here would be the maximum surface area in the middle that the globe flattened out could cover if you wanted to make that, take that whole surface area and make 3 circles of equal altitude out of them and overlap one. This is the biggest it could be. So up here is reality. This is the maximum surface area of the globe Earth, right? It flattened out and made into 3 circles. And this here would be what 3 circles would look like of equal altitude if you just use the horizontal plane of the globe and their circumference size. So look at the differences. Up here is reality. This is what can't match reality, and this is what we don't use in reality. So just to give it a little bit more, right here. So there's no overlap. So here you have at the top, this is just 3 circles of equal altitude at maximum size. Here they are, these 3 here. And this is a comparison with taking the full surface area of a globe Earth and making 3 circles out of them. This is this comparison in size. Up top, we have reality, and down here, we have the best that the globe Earth could offer, even if it was a flat plane. This is the best they could offer if they wanted to make 3 circles out of the full surface area of the globe. That's the best they could do. Whereas up here, we can do this and more because we have no idea how big the plane is. We don't know how big the Earth is. All we know is we can always use these 3 circles, always at maximum size. And that is, except for one thing, for people to remember this, they can't even get a circle of equal latitude on the globe because you can't have an equal angle to the celestial body because you're using curved surface. As soon as you move your angle to the center of the equatorial center of a globe, and you would then have a curved radius, so none of it works anyway. But the point is that even if you somehow could flatten out the globe, you still couldn't do it. There wouldn't be enough surface area. That's the end of the presentation.
Absolutely epic. So the globe has insufficient surface area to cope with the navigatable area that we can actually measure and navigate. The globe's too small. It doesn't have enough surface area.
Yeah.
That's what I just said to somebody in chat because they said they missed it. That's the basis of the whole thing, what Nathan just said, correct?
Yeah, there's over 70 million nautical miles squared missing. Or over 80 million, if you want to make it bigger, over 80 million statute miles squared. Over 80 million missing. So the globe is missing over 80 million statute miles squared.
Perfect. I'm going to do a couple of quick shout outs and then hopefully you can recover your composure and figure out what you want to do with either Discord or the G Plus panel going forward, Brian. Shout out to Rene Kalseka. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. Nathan, best globationist on beautiful flat. Thank you very much for the compliment. I really appreciate the support. Also, shout out to Mr. S, who sends me a super sticker, says, good job. The timing for that super sticker was as Brian was dropping the bombshell, just so we're all clear about the timing of that particular super chat. And also shout out to Rich P. I really wreck my back over the holiday weekend. Man, it's so good to have this night show. Thank you. It's our pleasure. It's certainly my pleasure. This is epic because this is being, or has been, discussed for quite some time. So on the eve of the death of the Queen of England, after 70 years on the throne, Brian has released the information in regards to the deficit that is the heliocentric globe Earth model. It simply doesn't have enough land mass to cover the navigatable amount of land that we actually experience and can measure. Excellent work, Brian.
Thank you, Nathan.
And everyone else, can you just maybe rattle off a few, maybe give some, credits?
I got help off of Adam and obviously John, refractor coverage, and off Mitchell and off of Rob Doan, and QE too, QE and obviously 10th man, right? Obviously 10th man, because he brought the whole. Although he wasn't the first to suggest it. He did all the research. QE was the first to suggest it, just after the Black Swan. But 10th man did all the research. He brought all this information to us, and people like me just took it and did things like this with it. But basically, it wasn't like a solo affair. It was my idea, but that doesn't mean that it's all mine, because everyone was involved, and I needed help from other people to do what I did. So I'm very happy that they were there to help, because it would have made it a lot more difficult. And just so people know, Rob Dorn made some things for me, but there was calculations that had been given to him that weren't correct. And even Adam might try and correct me on these calculations later. But what I did here, for people to know, would actually only error on the side of the globe. That's what I did with my calculations. So any calculation that is wrong will only be worse for the globe. It can only be worse for the globe. It can't be better. It can only be worse. The globe can only get smaller in surface area. But I don't think I did that wrong. Anyway, I think everything is correct. But if I did that wrong, all I did was make the globe too big.
Oh, I'm pretty sure
they'll see that means nothing.
Well, let's cover that. Well, we'll come back to that. John, have you got anything to add? We've heard a bit of commentary from Neil, and he's obviously been reiterating the point in chat. So thank you for that, Neil. But did you have any points to add before we come to that exact point by Brian about the T's and the I's and the commas?
Well, what does it mean if the claim of geometric size of the Earth is too small to cover the amount of area that we experience it? What does that mean, Brian?
Well, it means that the Earth is that we're told we live on has to be that claim has to be wrong, because it's too small. But it also means that it has to be a horizontal plane, have a horizontal baseline, be flat, because all these measurements are being done with the pre-assumption of a flat plane, horizontal plane in mind. So when you're making these measurements, you're using the horizontal baseline of the Earth, where all elevations are taken from, the flat plane of the Earth. So it not only does it mean that the former claim of the Earth having a maximum surface area of 197 million statute miles squared, not only does it mean that that's completely wrong, but it also means that it can't be a globe. So if it can't be a globe and the surface area is wrong, then if you understand the heliocentric model, it means all of heliocentrism is finished. Because everything in heliocentrism is based off of it being a globe with a radius of a particular size. But this proves none of that is true.
Did you want to add something to that, John? If not, I'll do a quick super chat shout out.
Well, I think it's important to remember that, like, he's giving them a lot, and it's still not working. You know?
Yep.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, Omega Werty from the super chat says, at best you've disproved our bigger globe. Lol. Maybe we'll come to that, but I just wanted to address what you said a moment ago, Brian, before you move on. So you said if people can find flaw in what you've written down and what's been presented here, mathematically or otherwise, I assure you that'll be the first thing they'll try and attack. But from what you discussed with, I can't remember if this made it to the pre-show or not, if it was before or when it was discussed, but in any event, we were discussing this and you just pointed it out in terms of how you've erred on the side of caution in most instances, if not all instances. Therefore, if there are errors, it'll be in their detriment if they were to correct those errors, if there are any. Now, do you want to expand on that before you go on to the point you're about to say, if I haven't made you forget it?
No, I will. They're similar. I'll expand on that and then I'll make the point. Yeah, if there's anything that's wrong, it'll only make the whole. It would only change let's say these diagrams. It would only change the calculations and the diagrams for the worse of the globe. It would only support us better. So I erred on the side of caution as much as possible to give the globe, like I can only give it 197 million square miles. That's the most I can give it. That's the maximum that it can be, right? If you do the maths, that's the maximum it can be, or 171 million, 188,000 something, 319 nautical miles squared. That's its maximum. It can't be any more than that. So I did my best to make sure that I represented that size as best as I could. Now, I might have overrepresented it, and that's my point. So if there's anything wrong, it will only be worse for the globe. So if they want to nitpick through it, they will find out that it's only going to be worse. The point is, it doesn't matter, because in the end of the day, they have a maximum size of 171,188,319 nautical miles squared surface area real estate on our model. 3 circles of equal altitude and maximum size is 3 circles of equal altitude and maximum size is where is it? Yeah, it's 241,537,684 nautical miles squared. And that's including the overlap. It's actually more. It's actually 274 million. So 3 circles of equal altitude. If I just show this again, this is actually like if we don't add the overlap because it isn't in this diagram, then it's 274 million, if I remember correctly. So it's actually without the overlap, it's way bigger. You know what I mean? So the surface area covered by these 3 circles here is 274 million and more, and thousands more square miles. You know, statute miles, or sorry, nautical miles. But the point is, it doesn't matter what they do, because they can never be any more than 197 million. That is the maximum that a sphere of that exact size can be. It can't be more. But there's absolutely no way out of this.
Based on your presentation, that when you started it, you were explaining that if you take 2 circles at maximum, that will exceed the maximum surface area of the sphere Earth. Just 2. So that's it. Did you want me to open up this discussion to the people who are in Discord?
1 second now. 1 second. I just want to show something here before we open up the discussion. Okay. 1 second. Just so people can see it. So 2, right? So just using 2 circles of equal altitude at maximum size, just 2 will have a 13,822,794 statute miles squared surface area greater than the maximum surface area of the globe. That's just 2. Not even the third one added in, just 2. If we use the total surface area of 3, right, including their overlap, so this is including the overlap, so we're accounting for that overlap, right? There'll be an 80,956,602 statute miles squared deficit. You can't go past that. The globe surface area will never be any more than 197 million square statute miles squared.
And it's not enough. That's the bottom line. That's not enough to cover the area that we're going to be measuring when we're doing navigation. That's the bottom line.
So you mean to tell me that these bastards got us living in a closet when it's a mansion out there?
It's a good analogy.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's a good analogy. Because we don't, like, the 3 circles of equal altitude that I had up on the screen a minute ago, that doesn't mean that's the maximum size of the world. We don't know what the maximum size is, but the globe has a maximum size. And just for anyone out there who doesn't understand heliocentrism and doesn't understand why the globe is that size, the globe, you can't state it might be a bigger globe or a smaller globe. You can't. It has to match the observations of the sky. And if you change the size of that sphere, then the observations won't match within any computer program. You can use Stellarium, anything you want.
I just want you to reiterate that. So what Brian's saying, and I want you to repeat it, is that your radius value is set in stone. It's a back calculation from the observation of the stars and will not and cannot be changed. The heliocentric model, as the size goes, cannot change. I just want you to reiterate that point, Brian, if you don't mind, just say basically the same thing again.
I'll actually give the history behind it, Nathan. The heliocentric model, the globe Earth model, its radius is a back calculation of flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris, which gave us our latitudes. That means that for the globe's radius to be a different size, whether it be bigger or smaller, means that geometrically that would mean the globe would never match those latitudes. Now, it doesn't match the latitudes anyway because they have an added 7/6R added in at all times and more than 7/6R refraction, which means that the horizon that they were using would never match the latitudes anyway. But that's a kind of a separate issue. The point is that it can't, for the latitude and longitude grid to match the globe as it is, and for all that to match the sky as we observe, then the radius has to be 3958 and change, rounded off up to 3959 miles, 3,959 miles. It can't be less, it can't be more. That's why they're stuck with that and with a total surface area of 197 million statute miles squared.
Okay. Well, we've got Mitchell from Australia, so I'll just say a quick hello to Mitchell before I pipe up with a couple of comments, if that's okay with you, Brian, and then perhaps we'll hand over to Discord. Hello, Mitch.
G'day.
G'day, sir.
Presentation, Brian.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've just been doing a few calculations on the back end of this, Brian. Is the presentation pretty much over? Is there comments yet?
Yeah, walk away. It's finished. We've gone through it.
We're into the bit where we get your comments, actually, Mitch, so very appropriately, go ahead.
Brilliant, because I just have to pull you up on a few calculations, Brian. When we were going through this, I said you can't convert from nautical miles squared to statute miles squared. You can't do that conversion. You have to do it from the base radiuses of each of them. And in doing that, it actually makes the discrepancy between the total surface area of two circles of equialtitude and the total surface area of the globe far worse. So,
excellent. So, good timing. So, what Mitch is saying is, based on his discrepancy, this is why this has taken a while to come out, because we know that the only criticism will be in regards to how the maths is done. But in this instance, what Brian's done is taken all of the criticisms and gone to the very edge of what he can conceivably give the globe. But what Mitch is saying is, no. Yeah, but you can't do it in that calculation because the cross conversion from globe statute to flat nautical, is that correct? Mitch, can you reiterate your point?
Yeah, it's far worse. You can't convert straight from nautical miles squared surface area to a surface area of miles squared. It's a very hard conversion. So you have to start at the base of this. So and surface area for a sphere is 4 pi r, and so that gives the total surface area in nautical miles squared of a globe 148 million nautical miles squared. The total surface area of two circles of equialtitude, which is one circle would be pi r squared for one circle. So two circles of equialtitude with a radius of 5,400 nautical miles would be 183 million nautical miles. So if you take 183 million from 148 million, I think I've said that backwards, 183 million, take away 148 million, gives you a discrepancy of over 35 million nautical square miles. And that is a massive difference. I think he quoted it as maybe 13 million nautical square miles discrepancy, Brian. After doing the calculations, I worked out it's far worse. And to put that in statute miles, because not many people work in nautical miles, the total surface area of a globe in miles is 196 million. So that you had that correct, but you try to convert it to nautical miles straight from that. But the actual total surface area of two circles of equialtitude in miles squared is 242 million. So 242 million miles squared take away 196 million miles squared leaves a discrepancy of 46 million miles squared that the globe is missing just from those 2 circles of equal altitude. So it's far worse. I was trying to look
It's
up.
not missing. Just let me get the
like-
terminology right. It can't account for it. It's a deficit. It's not missing anything.
Yeah,
it's
the
got a
deficit.
certain surface area, and the maximum has been breached by the amount that you can actually look out and draw a circle on a map with. So it's got a deficit.
So that
Yeah.
screen there at the moment. So Brian, you had 13 million nautical miles squared deficit. It's actually 35 million nautical miles.
Yeah,
Mitchell,
Oh, here we go. Hold
go
on.
on, John, go on.
No. I want you to respond before John goes. Sorry, John. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, what I did, and I knew this would come. I knew that Mitchell would put me on this, and I knew Adam would put me on it. Is I took the 197 million statute miles squared, and I just converted it to nautical miles, which gave me 171,188,319 nautical miles squared. And I have the calculation from Mitchell that he did, and I had that calculation, but I did it this way because I wanted for somebody to come in to correct it. Well, like, I'm not talking about Mitchell, I'm talking about somebody from our opposing side. And when they go to correct it, it turns out that it's much worse for them. Because it doesn't matter, because they are stuck with 197 million statute miles squared of a surface area. Whereas we can cover that with just 2 circles of equal latitude at maximum size is greater than that. Even 2 circles of equal latitude smaller than that is greater than that.
Okay, and that's the bit I want to reiterate, because before we get lost in the numbers, thank you for clarifying that, Brian. There's a deficit. That's all that matters. 2 circles of equal elevation are greater than the surface area the globe has to offer. That's the brass tacks of what we're dealing with. I just want that to not get lost in the numbers for the audience. So, John, go ahead.
And 3 are much worse.
Obviously,
yeah.
3 are worse, but because this is the bit we've bandied around for quite some time, can it be stated as I've just stated it? And it can. Okay, that's the nitty gritty. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, I don't appreciate Mitchell coming in and completely destroying where I have fallaciously argued for more surface area to the globe, along with all the hard work that Adam put in, trying to just squeeze a few extra inches. That's messed up.
Okay, we might get into that in the after show. I mean, the fun that's been had in the weeks leading up to this presentation, which you can probably hear from my smile. I'm very pleased this is now out and it's there, right? The critiques will come, they will, but the information's now been presented to the public, and I'm elated about that fact. And you've done a really good job of it, Brian. Now we will probably, John, get into the wrangle dangle that this is, that has come before this, the preceding wrangle dangle. Like I say, but we'll do that in the after show. But I would like to open up the mic at some stage to the public, because typically that is the case with any flat earth debate, Brian. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to do that now. And it may be just tumbleweeds, you never know. There's been a couple of people joined since I last attempted to introduce them. But if it's okay with you, I'm going to open the mic and invite their comments and opinions. But I'm going to lead in with hopefully a remark from someone in Discord, which was in regards to an old, I think it was sort of pre-Cook in terms of the descriptions in these books, and maybe 10th Man can verify this, but Paul, the guy who contributed the majority to my new PC, which is coming imminently, pointed out that the area beyond the horizon in this regard used to have a name. Now, maybe this will spark Paul to pipe up, but can anyone guess what the name of the area beyond these circles that we've been discussing in the show might have been called in days of yonder? Can anyone guess from the G Plus panel?
Haven't got a clue.
Outer space.
Oh my goodness.
Very good.
Did you catch that? Outer space. The outer space is the area beyond these circles of equal elevation at maximum altitude that have been mapped and plotted with longitudes and latitudes. What's beyond? Well, outer space was what it used to be described as. I just thought that was a nice segue into getting the opinions and comments from the Discord server. Okay, so thank you, Paul, by the way.
Well, here's another aside to that same line of thinking, which is...
You're breaking up a
So-
little bit abstruse. Can you maybe get a bit close to your mic? I don't know if there's some...
I'll start over. Hold on.
While we're waiting for abstruse, was there anybody else who's going to get in the queue?
Can I just reiterate how much deficit there is in the size of countries?
If you keep
So
it,
Russia has-
keep it to the minimum numbery bit, but just to keep most of the audience intrigued.
It'll be very easy. I'll keep it to countries. So Russia has a total surface area of 6.6 million square miles. So the size of Russia. Russia's the biggest country that we know of. There's a discrepancy of 7 Russias between the total surface area of the globe and 2 circles of equal altitude.
That's epic.
7
That was
Russias.
absolutely brilliant. That's great. If you can describe it in Russias, then people can comprehend what we're talking about. That was great. Abstruse, can we just get a check 1, 2?
1, 2.
Okay, yeah, I think we've got you. I'll just turn you up a bit. Go ahead.
Right. So in the heliocentric expanding universe paradigm, the universe is actually expanding faster than the speed of light. And because of that, galaxies or whatever the heck is out there, well, we will never be able to see because the light can't reach us no matter how hard and how fast it goes, right? Because space itself is going faster than the light. And so where that light can reach, right, where we can see it, then all of a sudden we can't see it anymore. They refer to that as the horizon.
In space terms, they call that the horizon.
Right. It's where the light can no longer be seen. It's the horizon.
Beyond the redshift, so to speak.
You could look at it that way.
Okay. Very good. Has anybody else in Discord got any comments quite specifically in regards to the globe Earth landmass deficit and the 2 circles of equal elevation that exceed at maximum measurement the total surface area of the sphere Earth model? Any comments from Discord?
Yeah, just to be extra critiquey, because I might have missed this because I was driving. Did you count for the differential of the overlap, like the Venn diagram?
Perfect question.
Yeah, we counted for the third circle, which would overlap. The first 2 would butt up against each other, but the third one, you can make them butt up against each other, but the third one will have an overlap, and we accounted for that. So we didn't even give the full size of the 3 circles.
Did you follow that, Abstruse?
Yeah.
Again, we're going to get into this in the after show because, again, there was a few points like this that just dragged out this process. But good critique. Any more for any more? I'm hoping we'll get. Go.
I just want to say that me and Adam fought really hard to get it up to 197 million. Like, that was a hard fought. Like, and just for Mitch to come in and point out that that's wrong, it hurts my feelings.
No, that part's right. That part's correct. If the globe, if we're living on a globe of radius 3959 miles, the total surface area of a globe would be 197 million statute miles. That's correct. You can Google that. What's the total surface area of the globe? 197 million miles. That's correct.
Yep.
It's the part where you convert to nautical miles or vice versa. That's the discrepancy.
See, I had us living in a closet before. After Mitchell, this son of a bitch has got us living in a shoebox when there's a massive estate out there. Huh.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show in this regard. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. I think there was one extra super chat that I didn't actually shout out properly, so I will do that now. Shout out to, here we go again, who says, I'm working again for now, lol. Cherry Coke Money, enjoy. And many thanks to you and the panel. Our very appropriate super chat to end on. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and all that good stuff. Smash the thanks button after the fact. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video. what a day! What a lovely day!
True things that they don't listen to them, they don't watch them. And that's what they do. And then they start critiquing you on something they didn't watch. This is a constant, isn't it? Every video you ever made, majority of the critiques are from people who didn't watch the video.
Oh, whoa. No, too far ahead. We get to that at the end of the after show, right? So I want to start this. We're talking about the wrangle dangle of the behind the scenes stuff that every time it comes up on a live show, we've had to go, no, let's not talk about this. There was one time where I started to talk about it. I just took it upon myself. And given that I had basically zero input on this particular argument, I was like, people coming to me going, why are you talking about it? What? This hasn't been polished. You know what I mean? But I want to get into that because especially the area that we were granting to the globe, I'm hoping that John, who's just vanished, was going to get into that, but he's obviously gone already. Oh, we're not going to get into it. Oh, he's not going to clarify what he meant right at the end of the live show. Maybe you can clarify it, Mitch.
Yeah, gloves were going to be off. He said he tried very hard with Adam to get that 197 million mile square statute miles.
Oh, just that Adam
the
join.
Total surface area.
Adam, John's done a runner right at the point that I was going to invite him to tell us about the wrangle dangle that is the attempted expansion of the expected globe surface area. But he's already done one.
Okay. I mean, the initial disclaimer from Brian at the beginning is the point where you have to entertain them. But I ended up doing a derivation, didn't I? To settle it. This was before me getting a radius value wrong. What room is it in? But yeah, so it's about how you can lay those circles out geometrically to the maximum effect or maximum distribution that still give you a fix. So that was the initial arguing of how much those circles would overlap with 3 points. Does that make sense? That's kind of what we was arguing about. How
well, good timing, because that's where I was hoping it would lead from a abstruse question in the live show. Did you catch it?
Yes, yeah, I was listening. Good show, Brian. I enjoyed it.
That was excellent. I forgot to thank you in the outro, Brian. I'm really sorry.
I don't worry about it, Nate. That's fine.
I did blow a lot of smoke up your ass during the show, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, I was happy just to be able to do it on the show. I was happy that you gave me the platform rather than me just putting it out just as a video. As I can still do that now, but now it's going to reach a much bigger audience.
Well, that was good. Considering it was an unscheduled show, essentially. I mean, I did plug it in today's live show, but for the most part, it was an unscheduled show. And there was a good solid 100 people watching. So that's good. Very good.
Yeah, well, just on in Adam's defence, there was one. Adam was corrected by Mitchell on one. I think it was the nautical mile part conversion. But then Adam totally regained his respect when he matched CAD with just a small piece of paper and a pen scribbling down for how much of the overlap how much the overlap would account for.
Let's hear it from him. Hold on, it's just you were sorry, I was interrupting you, Mitch. I was going to say let's hear it from you. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that is brilliant. That Adam drew 3 circles on a piece of paper and worked out just on the piece of paper without any fancy computers and CAD and all that stuff what the overlap actually was. That's brilliant, Adam.
It's on screen now.
Oh, here we go. Oh, we're getting right into it then. We're actually seeing the notes. I love it. Just give me a second.
In the mind of a genius.
There we go. This is what Adam scribbled out to do it. I mean, along the way, I'm sorry to bring this up now, but Adam, but it is the most appropriate moment. You just fed in one wrong number. This is all this boils down to. Adam made an input error. That's all it is, right? But because we're all mates, right? You never heard the end of it, right?
As you shouldn't. As you shouldn't.
Not on this. Not on
Oh,
this.
God,
Just for the
you're
audience. Not on
enjoying
this. This isn't what we're talking about. Not what's on screen now.
No, this was just the derivation. Because Rob was a bit slow on CAD. So it was pretty good.
I remember Adam doing this. He was chatting to us and joking as he was doing it. It took him a couple of minutes, and he had it done before Rob could do it on CAD.
Damn fat fingers with buttons.
Well, Adam's our resident mathematician in essence, though, isn't he? I mean, that is the way Adam is wired, and we love him for it. But like anything, Adam's not infallible, and occasionally he'll make an input error, and he just got jabbed and jibbed. And at the time, I didn't really want that to be the thing that was focused on when I aired this prior to this presentation, or hinted at enough for anybody who was in the know to get what I was talking about. But that was about the time that this was going on with Adam's input error. But that minor little thing that's more sort of mates jibbing each other than anything else. It's been a long drawn out process because of the high level of maths that's involved in making what I can summarize really easily. I mean, that's what I do for my living, right? Summarize these points that other people make, stand on the shoulders of the great men who do the maths, so I can make it nice and concise and put the summary in between when Brian's making the actual point for the first time to a live audience. Good job, Brian. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on doing this tonight, so I really, really regret not thanking you enough in the outro, but such is life.
Don't worry about it. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. I was very happy just to have this platform to do it on. I never even notice it. I didn't even notice it. All that's important to me is that the world gets to see it. That's all that's important to me. And we all get the praise. If there's praise to be given, because we're all involved in it.
And
there was something funny. Sorry, go on, Nathan. Go on.
It was Mitch.
I was just going to say, to be fair to Adam, his mistake was misapplying a fictitious radius value. So I think we can let him off.
That is the fun in this, and that's the benefit of us guys checking each other, because you can go off and you're pulling a 3D R that bends and comparing it here and there, and you can pull the wrong R. Yeah, and that is the benefit of having people check your work always.
Well, I was going to go out on a limb on the live show, Mitch, and say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to go out on a limb now because it's not live. That while you were rattling off the figures during that live show, you had no notes in front of you. You were just going from the memory after doing it so many times over the last few weeks or months, right? So correct me if I'm wrong. You had no notes in front of you while you were going, it's this minus this, and the big numbers that you were dealing with in a very rounded out way, I noticed. Am I right?
We have 3 homeschooling kids, so we have heaps of stationery, but I can never, ever find any paper or pens or anything. So, no, I didn't have anything in front of me. It was all
Well, that's what
memory.
I suspected, because of the way you're giving it in sort of fairly round numbers. I was like, no, you've just gone over this so many times, looking at the maths as you've been doing it and having Adams and the CAD and your own maths. But during that live show, you're on autopilot almost in terms of the numbers because it's been so thrashed out.
Yeah, if the number doesn't come out, something doesn't compute, and I did go and work it out after the fact. But yeah, it turned out that the discrepancy is far worse. And I do apologise to Brian. I didn't know it was a trap that he wanted someone to come along and work it out properly. But I just want to know where that discrepancy of the 7 rushes is. How are they going to account for that? I don't think anyone would, after working it out properly, come along and go, hang on, it's not 2 rushes, it's 7 rushes, this discrepancy.
This is why I miss sort of the flat earth school, because you've got a way of, you've just got I'm smiling, but it's envy really, Mitch, because you've just got this way with words. So what I was fishing for when you came out with that rusher example, you exceeded the expectations I had on you as a guest, right? By quite some margin, right? And it's like, after the fact now, I'm thinking, yeah, but I couldn't have done that, could I? You bastard. So you're ace. I love you for it, but by the same time, I'm quite jealous because you've got something I don't.
I'll just like putting things in ways that like my children can understand. I just put it in ways of like rushes. Like, this is how many rushes are missing. What? 7?
Epic. We got John back now. So, John, you dropped at just the wrong moment because I was hoping you could expand on you saying I don't appreciate the devil's advocate fight that we put up being undermined by Mitch. Can you just explain what you mean by that?
Well, the circle at equal altitude argument, like I felt like me and Adam was trying to stuff a fat lady into undersized pants, and the amount of surface area we had to deal with trying to make it fit on a glove. And so we were just throwing out every possibility, even if it was nonsensical, you know?
You just don't understand, John.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
not start that. No, it's not to send. I want to keep this really reasonably concise because we're sort of showing our work, not mine. I've been looking over the shoulders of the people next to me, but we're also, just letting the audience know what the sort of journey that it's taken to get to this particular point. It's going to be short-lived because we're going to be going over Ether again tomorrow on QE show. So, I want to keep this as condensed as possible. But rather than role playing out what fundies will do after the fact, which I'm going to come to next anyway. So yeah. Yeah, exactly, John. You and others have been fighting against the maths that's been put down, and that's been stopping the actual presentation coming out. I'm not knocking you for that, but I'm just saying us looking over these figures over and over and over again, not me, has delayed it quite considerably. Would you not agree?
well, yeah, but it's going to stop a lot of arguments before they happen, too.
Maybe. Good segue.
I think. Go on, sorry, Adam.
No, you, Brad, because it's more to do with the start. So,
Well, I was just going to say that what got in the way of this was actually the whole Ether argument. That's what slowed the whole thing down. And I said that's why I went forward with it. I said, no, I'm going to do it right in the middle of the whole Ether argument because otherwise it gets lost in the way. It gets lost in the background. Someone else might pick up on it, someone outside of us, and they might do a bad job on it, and which often can happen. And then the argument is not heard of because it gets destroyed because somebody does something wrong. I knew that we would definitely do a proper job on it, so I wanted it out, regardless of whatever else is going on at the moment. And also our opposition know that we didn't forget about them.
Yeah, I mean, there would have been someone that heard the live show and go, hang on, I want to actually look into that. And yeah, they could have possibly looked into it and put out false figures and do a bad job. I think you did a wonderful job, Brian, of actually putting what the actual argument is. Brilliant job.
Thanks, Mitchell. And I didn't mind you, by the way, as I say again, I didn't mind you correcting me on that. I was quite happy to be corrected on it because I know I knew someone was going to correct me on it. And it didn't matter whether it was one of us, whether it's you, Adam, Rob, John, whoever, or if it was going to be one of our opposition, one of the ballers. Because it proves what I said at the start is that, because it doesn't matter, because they only have 197 million square miles to work with. That's it. 2 circles of equal latitude, even not at maximum size, even close to maximum size, is greater than that. So they can't, there's no way around it. So no matter what way they wrangle it with maths, it'll never work. It can never work for them. Like as you said, where's those 7 rushes? But that's just with 2 circles of equal latitude. Add in the third one, even with the overlap accounted for. How many rushes is that? They can't account for this.
Oh, Mitch.
I mean, that's a great way of putting it. They only have a maximum surface area to work with, 197 million square statute miles. And so the 2 surface areas of just 2 circles of equal altitude is the globe surface area plus 7 rushes. The massive discrepancy.
Yeah, 1 rusher would be a lot. 7 is, it's crazy. There's no way out of it. If you talk about, it's a conspiracy. This is all conspiracy. We're all crazy people. All us flat earthers, we're just crazy people. We don't have any proof, of anything. This is what they want the world to believe. But
on that note, what do you
think
think will be the fundy chanting that we'll get in response? It's always nice to predict those things, and that's what I was hoping to round out with. So we might get those fundy rumblings from the Discord server while we're doing this. That's what it's hoping to encourage. Just hint, hint. So, guys in G+, any predictions? I can see Mitch off mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're going to put a 2-dimensional flat circle onto a 3D surface. That's what they're going to do. They're going to say that 5,400 nautical square, 5,400 nautical mile radius can be put onto a sphere. It's going to be a bent radius. I think Brian already went over this. They're going to try and equivocate 2D and 3D. It just does not work. They're going to put, I think I saw someone put like a cone onto a ball and go, see the circle. There's a circle on this sphere. I think that's where they're going to go. They're going to say, yeah, we can put a circle on a sphere,
which would require a chord. He didn't open with that specifically, but yeah, the chord that requires or entails isn't really where Brian focused, but he did focus in the initial opening, in fact, on the requirement for a bent radii, or for bent radii, which is an impossibility. Go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
Yeah, well, at that point, you see what happens is the circle. They can only fit a certain size circle onto their globe. It can't be a circle that has a radius bigger than 395 miles if they want it to be a circle. So they always end up with the initial circle that's measured. What they end up with would be the maximum they can end up with is curving that radius of 5,400 nautical miles of the initial circle of maximum size measured. What they do is they would then put that onto their globe, but curve the radius so it's a curved line from the GP point of Polaris down to their equator, and then their equator is 24,862 statute miles or whatever in circumference, or 21,600 nautical miles in circumference. But that's all out the window then, because first of all, the whole point of the measurement was to give you the radius of a circle, and now you have a circle that's too small for what you measured, and you don't have a radius anymore that's 5,400 nautical miles. You have a curved line along the surface of a globe, and your radius is now 3,440 I think it is nautical miles. So as soon as they go, I'm just going to share my screen just to represent it.
Just as timing had it, we've got Adam's Pink Panther with a curve radii measurement on screen now.
Brilliant. Yeah, as soon as they curve this line here, this line that goes from here to here, as soon as they curve that line, there is no circle of equal latitude possible. Because first of all, they have a curved radius, right? Which means that the radius of the circle they will have then will be a chord line through a circle, which will be less in distance than the arc that resides above it. So it doesn't work with coordinates, doesn't work geometrically if you want to use it in the real world. And on top of that, they can't have an equal angle from the observer's point of view to the star, because they can't have any angle, because they then have a curved baseline. So there's 3 problems that can never be overcome. So from this exact point, as soon as they curve that horizon, the initial distance measured, as soon as they curve that, it's over. We don't even have to go to the circles of equal latitude argument, but as soon as they curve it, it's over for them. Can't go anywhere from there.
Right, which comes back to the era of the sextant and elevation angle argument at its heart, right? You can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline.
That argument, I'm feeding back. Mitchell, you're asking to sum up, and in terms of where they're going to attack, Mitchell alluded to it, and this is kind of the point. That this diagram's good. We made the disclaimer at the start of allowing NDR, and fundamentally, this is some of the argument that me and refractive curvature having with Brian, because my argument was you can't even have 1 centimeter squared, because if we look at this and we look at the areas of equal altitude, their favorite word tangent becomes applicable, and that circle of equal altitude, say it's C to D, you can see how it's sitting. So the only point that it intersects any of the surface is at the tangent point, which is an infinitely small point. It doesn't have 1 centimeter squared, does it? It is an infinite point of just the intersection of that, those C to D and the surface of this sphere. So fundamentally, we're being very, very generous because none of the circle of equality, other than the dot at the tangent point, actually is representative of the surface area of the sphere that mismatches.
Yeah, they've got. You just said it in terms of they haven't even got 1 centimeter or 1 centimeter square, right? They've got a single infinitesimally small point that touches the sphere, and that's it. Further to that, they haven't got 2 tangent points, just the one. So where's your Earth curve? Not that we could see it because we haven't got the ability to see geometry on Earth because of refraction, which we touched on, or Brian touched on in the live show. So it's riddled, right? It's absolutely riddled.
Well, there's another thing here that I didn't point out because I didn't want to add too much during the presentation, but I pointed out now because in the after show. Something I was thinking about. You know the way they say that when they're doing celestial navigation, well, not our opposition, but in celestial navigation, they treat the stars as an infinite distance, as in they don't know what distance they are or what they are. They just treat them all as infinite, right? But if you look at what the globe does, this is the observer here, right, where my mouse is. This is where they're observing a celestial body, regardless of where it is. When they move the angle down to the center, they then also move the observer, not from here to there, but then they move the observer out onto the surface of the sphere. Well, look how much closer the observer would get to their celestial body when they do that. So this is why the globe has to claim all infinite distances. They're all at infinite distances, even though they have specific distances for each star in the sky within their heliocentric model. There's a specific distance to Polaris, specific distance to the sun, blah, blah, blah. But when they actually do the maths and go to the geometry here in orthographic view, because everything they do has to be in orthographic view, when they do it, it puts the sun just off of the surface of the sphere, because the observer is not at the center of their globe now. The observer is here because that's the GP point, if you understand what I mean. So a person standing underneath, when I say that this observer is not there, but a person standing at the GP point within their model here would see the sun basically, or a star, whatever, just barely above their head, if you understand what I mean. Like you'd end up with having all these close suns and stars all around this heliocentric this globe model. So that's why they have to claim when it comes to celestial navigation or opposition claim or infinite distances, not hijacking what they say in celestial navigation. But they have to, because when you look at the orthographic maths or geometry they have to do, it puts it'll make all the celestial bodies real close to the surface of the sphere.
Well, further to that, they've got well, they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth. Further to that, aren't they? Because they've got these lines coming in parallel, which means straight, which means that they've got to immediately relinquish the 7/6 terrestrial refraction in terms of their measurement of both the horizon and the celestial object. Now, they might be able to blank that they're only going to do that close to the horizon for the celestial object, but it doesn't also the fact that they've always got atmosphere, aka sphere-shaped air, aka the effects of which giving them 7/6 of the radius value. So they've never got any of these straight lines, but they're claiming out the other side of their mouth that they've got parallel lines to the centre of a sphere Earth that we're not standing at.
Yeah, there's a whole mess. Like their version of celestial navigation is such a mess. It's geometrically, it's interesting, but it's a mess. I mean, it was clever the way it was thought of, and who came up with the idea of putting it into the center of a globe and all the rest of it. But the whole thing is a total mess.
We've got a few. I was going to say we've got a few globers. I don't know if we were going to get. We've had not a peep out of anybody so far in terms of their gut reaction to this as a globe defender. I mean, there's a deficit in globe Earth landmass, and no one's addressed it yet. We'll see if we get anything before we round out. Maybe.
Well, what I predict, there's two things. One, I will have to go in the next 10 minutes because I have to join Mitchell's show. Or sorry, not Mitchell. Sorry, Mitchell. I'm joining Witsit. I'm going on Witsit in the next 20 minutes or so. But on top of that, the only thing they can do, because I thought about it before I brought out the presentation, the only thing they can try and claim is that they're wrapping their globe like with loads of blankets. So a rewrapping, which would be a complete overlapping, an over the top overlapping, which would probably, in a lot of circumstances, end up back overlapping the actual navigator. If you understand, it would be a crazy situation. So they'd have to the only thing they could do is claim some crazy, bizarre situation that is just going to be some mathematical nonsense. That there's no way around it. Like, how do you make up land that isn't there? You can't.
It's been switched now. Now flat earthers, now globers are stretching the land. That's interesting. Excited to see this video.
How do you mean now globers are stretching the land? What do you mean?
Well, I hear globers claim a lot that that map doesn't work because then you'd have to distort all of the land. It's a great turnaround now.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah.
Well, they're on the back foot. We've been on the offensive for a good couple of years, I would say. Typically, we've been defensive and reactive. Now we're on the offensive. This is blow number 2. First proactive flat Earth assertion came in the form of the elevation angle argument, and now here we are again in terms of the acquisition of these circles requiring a flat Earth and the deficit it leaves in the globe Earth wake. It's bad news, man. Like I say, we're on the offensive. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, it's like a boxer that's just throwing punches and throwing punches and throwing punches, and he's not getting hit back. But the guy don't want to go down. Well, he's really knocked down on his feet, the globe, but he doesn't realize he's knocked out.
So, have we got any gut reactions from Discord?
That's what I was going to ask, Nathan. Is Discord open?
Yeah.
This is...
If not, we're going to round out with literally no opposition to this. Guys in Discord, I mean, times are ticking. No pressure.
I don't know what they're going to say.
Me neither, Brian.
What would you say? What would you say in that position?
I don't know. We might find out, but the pause is better. The speculation has been and gone.
Well, the silence is very telling already.
Agreed.
Yeah, nobody who's in the VC of Discord is a glober, but they are hearing you in the chat. They are chatting it up, so they are aware that it's being discussed, and they're aware of it. Yeah.
No, there's globers in the VC. Okay. Any last comments from the guys at G+? Clearly, we're going to get nothing from the...
Awkward silence. Before you do round out, I just want to clarify something. In maths, a surface area of a sphere, of a curved shape of a sphere, can be described as having a square surface area, like a 1 centimeter squared, but that's only in the maths. When we get into reality, where we're getting this squared surface area from, we are only using flat Earth measurements. And that's where it lies. You can't equivocate. This flat Earth measurement, we're measuring elevation angles, gives us a flat radius, gives us a flat 2D circle. There's nothing to do with the sphere here.
Oh, well, that's something else that would make it worse then. So what you're essentially saying is, given the fact that we live on an irregular plane, well, if you take the reference as 0 and you work under the assumption that nothing's going to be below that, I mean, yeah, I accept that there are a limited amount of land masses that are below the surface area at sea level, but it's not like that big an amount. For the most part, stuff's going above that area, but you're generally going to be taking it as a flat area and referencing it at 0, right? Therefore, that, if you actually account for the surface area in the most literal terms, there's going to be even more, isn't there? If you add up the land area with a mountain on top of it, you end up with more.
I mean, yeah, there is a physical discrepancy, isn't there? If we're actually measuring it from reality, which we always do, we have to use it in reality to navigate. There is a discrepancy between the surface area that we are said exists in the surface area we can actually measure.
It's the 4-3 pi r squared business. Right, can you put the third slide on? That I can see in the side column. This is my final point. It's the nice thing that the way in which Brian said earlier the globe is defined is angles to Polaris and what that relates to in nautical miles. And when we do that in celestial navigation and then on a plane, we have no discrepancy. What you've got here, look, is when you do it onto a ball where that angular change in terms of Polaris is no longer ascribed to distance. It's only ascribed to curvature of a ball. It limits you. And in doing so, it gives you a reduced R in a way, in reality, because the R is transcribed to the outside of the sphere, a bendy R. And the consequence, the consequence of that is this diagram. So you can see that the biggest you can get on their sphere is reduced because of the way in which the surface area is actually applied, because it's on the sphere. So.
The last word, Brian.
Oh yeah, sorry. I just want to say sorry to Adam. I wasn't able to go off mute there. This one here, just before we finish up. This is, I think, the best one in some ways, because this shows just 3 circles of equal altitude and the amount of land and surface area, land and water, whatever they will cover. And this is the full maximum 197 million square miles, statute square miles of a globe, flattened out and made into 3 circles that will all be 1/3 of each of that 197. And that is the maximum size they can offer, whereas we have this, and we don't know how much more. So.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to Brian's Logic for making today's presentation possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the thanks button, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!